the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Governor Greg Gianforte gives his first State of the State address. The new governor focusing on two of the issues that are on the minds of most Montanans right now, ending the COVID-19 pandemic and rebounding the economy. Governor Gianforte also shared his priorities for the Montana legislature. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the speech.
On Thursday night, Governor Greg Gianforte promised a change in Montana's direction.
Our agenda is ambitious, but we owe it to you to be bold and to lead Montana comeback.
Gianforte, Montana's first Republican governor in 16 years, delivered his first State of the State address before a joint session of the Montana House and Senate. His speech focused on his plan for getting the state back on track after the COVID-19 pandemic. Gianforte said responding to COVID continues to be his top priority. He praised healthcare workers, first responders, teachers, and others who served their communities during the pandemic. He said the state is ready to administer more vaccines and called on the federal government to deliver more. And he touted changes in the state's response to limit the impact on businesses. Gianforte called for changes in Montana's tax system, arguing the state has become uncompetitive with its neighbors. He backed reductions in the top income tax rate and the business equipment tax, as well as property tax relief. He also called for investments in teacher pay, trades education, and responding to substance abuse.
Ultimately, our budget is about Montana priorities. It's about increasing opportunities here at home and bringing the American dream into greater reach for all Montanans. We should ensure every Montanan has an opportunity to realize it.
Gianforte said he's confident the state can recover and come out of a challenging time even stronger.
If there's anything this year has taught us, it's that Montanans can handle anything. We met the test. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of our state is strong. But it's more than strong. The state of our state is resilient.
For the first time since 2003, the Democratic Party was giving the response to the State of the State instead of the speech itself. Representative Lori Bishop, a Democrat from Livingston, argued Gianforte's plans didn't do enough to help low and middle income Montanans and vowed they'll be focusing on supporting opportunity for all.
Democrats are striving to create the conditions that help small, Montana-grown businesses expand and thrive. Democrats are committed to advancing and defending opportunity for all who reach for it. That is what we believe. That is what we're fighting for relentlessly every day.
Also during his speech, Gianforte backed bills currently in the legislature to block sanctuary cities in Montana and a pair of bills that would further regulate abortion in the state. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Well, Florida Republican Representative Matt Gaetz holding a rally in Cheyenne, Wyoming today against another Republican, Liz Cheney.
I'll confess to you, this is my first time in Wyoming. I've been here for about an hour, and I feel like I already know the place a lot better than your misguided representative, Liz Cheney.
Gaetz is hoping to create backlash against the number 3 House Republican after she voted to impeach former President Donald Trump for inciting the riot at the U.S. Capitol. Cheney was one of only 10 Republicans who voted to impeach the former president. Gaetz is one of a few Republicans who's positioned himself as a bearer of the former president's brand, saying last week he believes we ought to embrace the spirit and style of President Trump.
My old man calls it prairie populism. Do right by your people. Never sell out. Fight their dislikes. And never let the powerful run over the weak.
Montana Representative Matt Rosendale is also one of the Republicans working to oust Cheney from her leadership role. Cheney has defended her decision, saying about Trump, quote, "There has never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution." The man who allegedly beat and tried to abduct a 20-year-old woman near Lockwood before leading law enforcement on a high-speed chase down I-94 pleads not guilty to 10 charges. That suspect charged with 7 felonies, and the judge set bond at $1 million today. In court this morning, the suspect, 34-year-old Terry Smith, told the court he couldn't see his attorney because deputies broke his glasses during the arrest. So the judge had Smith transported to the courtroom where, again, He said he couldn't read the charging documents. Once the documents were finally read to him, Smith pleaded not guilty to 10 charges, ranging from aggravated kidnapping, assault on a peace officer, and possession of dangerous drugs. Well, what led to these charges in today's court appearance is even more bizarre. It's downright dangerous and life-threatening. It all started, prosecutors say, when Smith tried to pull over a young woman near Lockwood. Q2's Shaquille Cozart picks up the story and the frightening details.
No, this is very rare and violent, and I can't stress enough for any young people, especially females, situational awareness. She saw this guy in the mirror, thought it was strange. She pulled over hoping he would go by, whether it's a road rage or something else. Then he rams into her. So I just ask the public to keep an eye out for anybody suspicious. Always give law enforcement a call if you think there's an issue.
What started as someone waving a young woman down on the road turned into a fight for her life. Court documents state that a 20-year-old woman was driving near Yellowstone Trail and Dickey Road when she noticed a maroon-colored Subaru tailing her. The suspect, later identified as Smith, waved her down. When she didn't pull over, he drove up next to her car into oncoming traffic to do so. That's when Smith crashed into her front fender, sending both vehicles off the road and blocking the woman's car from driving forward. The young woman backed up to escape and hit a tree. The woman was able to kick her door open and exit the car, but Smith grabbed her by the hair, punched her in the face, slammed her head against the car, and strangled her. The woman asked Smith why he was doing this, to which he replied that he needed her for something. And then he forced her into the car and told her that he was going to slit her throat. The woman escaped out of the passenger door, only to be pulled back into the car by her hair. It is only then that another motorist pulled up. The victim escaped and they sped off, now leaving the victim with the physical and emotional wounds.
And she was doing everything she could to get away and being loud and vocal, so anybody that was around would have heard this. She did everything right in this situation, and without the public's help for seeing this situation, seeing the suspect driving recklessly and crazy on the interstate at excessive speeds, calling us, we couldn't have done this as quick as we did without the public's help.
Reporting in Billings, I'm Shaquille Cozart with MTN News.
Thanks, Shaquille. And of course, it didn't end there. Deputies later located the stolen vehicle heading down Pryor Creek Road. Smith then moved on to I-94 and the high-speed chase ensued at speeds up to 110 miles per hour. Prosecutors say 105 cars had to swerve around Smith as he traveled the wrong way down the interstate. A failed pit maneuver landed his vehicle in the ditch, but he got back on the interstate where he was finally stopped by spike strips, chased down, and tased by deputies at the Pompey's Pillar exit. Billings financial advisor Gary Buchanan says in his 40 years in the business, he's never seen anything like this week, where a video game retailer suddenly became the darling of Wall Street. This morning, shares of the struggling GameStop had surged to more than $480 a share after a group of small investors banded together to drive the stock's price to an all-time high. The stock surge came much to the surprise of several Wall Street hedge funds who were betting GameStop's price would sink.
A bunch of individual, mostly young investors are essentially flipping the middle finger to hedge funds on Wall Street. And it's pretty unique in that respect. Certainly tell any of my clients or any investor, stay out of this game. There's going to be a lot of hurt coming. And if you want to play a game similar, that's more fun and less dangerous, put on your mask and go to your local casino. You probably have a better chance of making money and a lot less a chance of being hurt.
The surge in trading drove GameStop's value up by more than $10 million yesterday alone. But today, several trading platforms placed temporary restrictions on the stock and the shares slid 44%. Buchanan's takeaway is he can't see how anybody wins in the end. Both sides, he says, are going to lose a lot of money. All right, turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. And if you've been missing out on winter this year, he's going to show us where a lot of snow is falling.
That's for sure. Yeah, we've got this atmospheric river that's been moving into California, and it's really been hammering that region with a lot of rain along the west coast. In fact, up to 12 inches of rain in some places, causing some flooding, especially in areas that had burn scars from wildfires previously. And then once we get into the Sierra Nevada, we're seeing snow totals that are moving up to around 4 feet plus in many places, including a lot of the ski resorts. Here's a little video of some of the snow that have been falling from around there. Overall, this is really good news for them in the long picture because, well, not only did they get some snow into the ski resorts, but also this is going to be able to feed all the reservoirs once we start getting into the spring. For us, that same river is starting to move some of the moisture up this direction. We'll show you where those impacts will be felt coming up with the forecast in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Ed. Yellowstone National Park released its 2020 visitation numbers today, and despite the pandemic, plenty of visitors rolled through the gates last year. The park, which was closed for nearly 3 months, saw more than 3.8 million visitors last season. It's down only 5% from 2019, when the park welcomed in just over 4 million. The park's record year of 2016 still stands when more than 4.2 million people entered through the gates. Now, here's a little something we can look forward to. The Billings Mustangs will be back and playing baseball even earlier this spring. Scott Breen has been following updates for the last several months and has the latest.
January here in Montana, too early to start thinking baseball? Absolutely not, especially considering what Mustangs fans have been through over the duration of the last year. We told you back in November the Mustangs will be back, but no longer an affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. They're instead playing in a Major League Baseball partner league. This means a longer season with a much earlier start. Mustangs unveiling their Pioneer League schedule Wednesday, set to showcase 96 games instead of 76. First pitch May 22nd, nearly a month sooner than ever.
It's another step toward, this new arrangement becoming reality.
The Mustangs' first home game will be on a Wednesday night, May 26th. That'll be against the Rocky Mountain Vibes. Further scheduling details reveal the Mustangs, along with all Pioneer League teams, will play 10 additional home games.
The checklist that you say, Scott, is number one on that checklist is going to be players and coaches and a manager. For me, that's the most important part of this new arrangement, this new structure. It's our responsibility to go get our own players and our own coaching staff, and we will.
You say concern. Is there a little part of you in there that feels like Theo Epstein or Billy Beane, or hey, I get to go out and make some moves now?
Quite honestly, I don't want to go make some moves. I've never had to do that. I think if I had to, we'd figure out a way. But there's more qualified people to do that than myself.
Standard start time for all home games will be 6:30 with the exception of holiday showdowns. And there's a new team on board over in Idaho, the Boise Hawks, who make an appearance in Billings the week of July 21st.
They were not extended an invitation by Major League Baseball to become part of the 120. So they were left in no man's land. And it just so happens, as Orem was moving to Windsor this year, and it left an opening for Boise.
And Gary tells us the Mustangs hope to hire a manager sometime soon. That'll do it for sports. At Dealer Park, Scott Breen, MTN Sports.
And if you'd like to look at the full Mustang schedule, we've shared it in this story on montanasports.com. Still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. From supply to effectiveness, the COVID-19 vaccine has also prompted many questions. Today, the Billings Chamber hosted a virtual town hall to help provide some answers. That story's coming up next. And a little later, in sports, rivalry renewed, a college basketball showdown between the Cats and Grizz women taking center stage. We'll have the highlights on the way.